Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. So, today, as you know, across the Pacific, we continue with more of New Japan Strong in Korakuen Hall for Independence Day. We have, of course, the New Japan Strong Women's title on the line, the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles, and, of course, the New Japan Strong Openweight title, and, of course, the final death match. And then, of course, out of nowhere, MLW decided to throw in another fusion show instead of a Thursday. They decided to do it today. But we also move on with AEW Dynamite. We have some interesting matches taking place. We have two blind elimination tag team matches. We have, of course, a women's quarterfinals of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. And, of course, our main event features Wheeler Yuta versus Kenny Omega. And of course, for our news updates, we continue to update what's been going on with Utami Hayashishita, any more events being posted from any promotion, what matches are being set, the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, click subscribe and like, and tell all your friends about this channel. We'll review a lot of pro wrestling shows. So right now, let's get started with our very first one. We have, of course, New Japan Strong down in Korakuen Hall in Tokyo, Japan for Independence Day Night 2. Now, they already have Night 1. I reviewed that on the previous episode. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Now, our opening match we have is, of course, a pre-show match before anything else. We have Takahiro Katori, Rekka, and Dragon Libre, the guys from Freedom, taking on Master Wato, Bolton Oleg, and of course Roysuke Taguchi. Now, what was funny about this match is, of course, Kotaro had this little bunny, stuffed bunny, with him, and it was taken from him by the winning team from yesterday. It involved Oscar Lobe and not Oscar. I don't know what. I think Oleg, Taguchi, and of course Yo. And of course, Taguchi had that little stuffed animal the entire time, trying to piss off Kotaro. But luckily, it did not help anything for anybody. But in this case, it was, of course, Master Wato with the Sutikatu German suplex that put away, what's his name, Rekka, giving them the win. But, of course, Kotaro got his bunny back. Now, our next match, we have Oscar Lobe versus Satoshi Kojima. This was a very good match. I have to say, Oscar Lobe, I feel like he has that powerhouse mentality in the match. But however, when it comes to Kojima, he is the one with the much power when he applied, of course, the lariat. 1, 2, 3, adios, good night. Now, our next match, we have Rohi Oiwa and Homicide taking on the former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, TJP and Francisco Cara. Now, keep in mind, those who are new to the channel, if you guys haven't heard this one before, these guys recently lost the IWGP Tag Team Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles to the War Dogs, the Bullet Club War Dogs, Maloney and Connors. However, this is a good way for Catch 22 to get themselves back on track, to start from square one and see if they can regain those tag titles. They did it before, but the obvious question is, can they do it again? Only time will tell. But right now, their focus is, of course, on Oiwa and Homicide. However, it was a pretty interesting match. Oiwa stood right there in ground, but however, it was the 2-2 that put him away, and Akira was the one who picked up the win. Now, this was supposed to be a non-title match. Chaos members Rocky Romero and Yo were confronting our current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, the Bullet Club War Dogs, Dan Maloney and Clark Connors. However, Rocky Romero decided to make a proposition. Instead of making this match into a non-title match, it turned into a title match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, which of course it did. Now, this was a very interesting matchup. I think this was a pretty good one because Yo hasn't competed for these titles for a while. Same thing with Rocky Romero, but they did pretty well. However, it was the War Dogs with the full clip onto Rocky Romero to put him away and give Clark Connors the win by pinning him. Now, our next match, this is the first time these guys ever team up. We're talking about TMDK members Kosa Fujita and Bad Dude Tito. Now, if you guys aren't familiarized with this, Bad Dude Tito, he is the first non-American member to be joining a faction that is based from Australia. It started with Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste, and of course they had Jonah, but of course we all know where Jonah is, and of course we have what's his name, Zack Sabre Jr., who is a British fellow who is part of the group. So Bad Dude Tito is the first American. However, this is the first time that Fujita and Bad Dude Tito actually team up, but their opponents are none other than Alex Zane and Lance Archer. However, Archer and Zane, very impressive team. Now, you look at these guys, they seem like heavyweights, but Alex Zane, he's a junior heavyweight competitor for his size. You know, even though he's supposed to compete as a heavyweight, even Taiji Shimori thought the same thing too, but they did pretty well. However, it was of course the lariat by Archer to Fujita that gave them the win. However, they feel now, those two calling themselves Monster Sauce, are willing to come back. I have to say, this is a good combination between these two to team up. I can't wait to see it, but the obvious thing is, for me as a fan, will Alex Zane transition to heavyweight? I mean, it would be great. I mean, he can still do some of his junior, like his high flying skills for his size in a heavyweight standard. I mean, we see that with Will Ospreay since he made the jump to heavyweight, but anything's a possibility. Now, our next match, we have Team Filthy, Royce Isaacs and Jarrell Nelson, the West Coast Wrecking Crew, along with their boss Tom Lawler, taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi, Tomohiro Ishii, and the DKC. I thought this match was pretty fun. Now, keep in mind, I know Tom Lawler would have done everything in his power to set a point to put away Tanahashi, but it was, of course, Tanahashi with the inside cradle that picked up the win onto Isaacs, and 1, 2, 3, it was done like that. Now, our next match is another title match. This is for the NJPW Strong Women's Championship. Now, this was a match that was initially issued by Julia during the Sunshine event in Stardom. Now, she issued this challenge for many reasons. Now, she feels that she should be the one to be the breaker of the forbidden door for the women's wrestling. Many fans have often talked about she should be an international star. She should be making her way in overseas, and I think this is her way of trying to do that. Of course, she did had a preview match with Willow Nightingale where she teams up with Momo Kohgo. As for Julia, she teamed up with Tekla. They unfortunately lost that match, but however, Julia claimed in the post-match comments that now that she saw the kind of person she is, that she feels that she knows how to way to beat her. But that match was so intense, very power. But however, it was Julia with the Northern Light Bomb that put Willow Nightingale away to become the second ever New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Now, let me explain something that's people been talking about this now. Now that because of this match has happened, people are speculating that it's only a matter of time until Julia gets the one opponent she needs to face. And if you guys don't know who I'm referring to, that could be Mercedes Moné. There are those who are speculating that this match could take place at Wrestle Kingdom. Anything's a possibility. I'm sure it could happen. So we'll see what happens. But the obvious thing is, where would Julia go next now that she won this title? I mean, she could go anywhere, even do some overseas matches. But however, there is one person she needs to contend, and that is none other than Toni Storm, who made some remarks about her during the AEW Double or Nothing media scrum. Julia is not a fool, but we'll see what takes place on that. Now, our next match is for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Now, keep in mind, Bushimon were the title holders of 2 titles. Recently, they lost the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team titles to the other members of the War Dogs, Alex Coughlin and Gabriel Kidd. However, now they put this title on. But once again, the same old tactics by the War Dogs, attacking them before the match. But however, Bushimon knew what it was at stake. Basically, this is not something they're not willing to lose the titles to the War Dogs, who are trying to prove a point now. But Bushimon put up a hell of a fight until finally they applied the Shoto onto, of course, Coughlin and retaining the titles. So I thought this was a pretty good match. So I wouldn't be surprised if down the line we do see Coughlin and Kidd team up for Tag League to win this tournament and get those titles, which is something they deserve to have, or something they want to have. Now, our next match, this is the New Japan Strong Openweight title. We have Eddie Kingston versus Kenta. Now, you know Kenta, how he is. You know, he is considered many a legend, but however, Kingston knows what's at stake. I mean, he would stand everything that Kenta would throw at him, no matter the cost. But it took a lot of back fists to put him away until he applied, of course. This was interesting. Julia won her match to win the New Japan Strong Women's Championship using the Northern Light Bomb. Eddie Kingston did the same thing too, defeating Kenta and winning the title. So this was a huge emotional moment for Eddie Kingston to finally, the kid from the street wins his dream, and that's something that really touched me a lot. Even Kenta, he was like saying, "What the fuck? You know, why is the crowd cheering for a fat slob like him?" So he said that in the post-match comments. But Eddie Kingston, man, what he said at the post really hit me. Like, I cannot say I relate to him, but I feel what he was going through. He said that he was the kind of guy, either he could have died or ended up in jail, but it was Japanese pro wrestling that saved him. And he says that if he could do what he did, any kid could do the same thing too. And I feel like he could be like an inspirational wrestler for kids who've been in trouble their entire lives and turn their lives around and do what Kingston did. I'm sure he can pull it off. So I have to say it was a pretty good match. Now, our main event, before it starts, we had Jun Kasai made his way towards the commentary. Previously, Jun Kasai teamed up with El Desperado to take on Homicide and John Moxley. That match was intense, but now this is called the final death match between El Desperado and John Moxley. Now, this is a rivalry between these two that dates back during one of the New Japan Strongs in, don't remember where, I think in Nashville or somewhere around there, where, of course, John Moxley brutalized Desperado, and I think this was like the same thing. But however, somehow John Moxley was able to kick out the Pinche Loco move. But until Moxley applied Death Rider, that was the end of it. So, I mean, we know Desperado, he's not a big deathmatch wrestler, but he feels that they deserve the amount of respect that they deserve. And I think that sets it all for him. So I think he's starting to see and appreciates what deathmatch wrestling is all about. I mean, people can say deathmatch wrestling is not wrestling, but some people treat it as an art form, as a way of living, a way of saying that I'm still alive. But we'll see what happens in the near future for Despy. I think that's pretty much it with New Japan Strong. So let's move on with MLW Fusion. Okay, MLW Fusion 172. So let's get started. It started out with Microman along with his manager, Saint Laurent, coming out to the ring. However, they were doing a little bit of a promo until Microman was attacked by Davey Boy Smith. Uh, Looks like they're turning him into heel. I think the fact is he's frustrated how things did not go well for him recently. As you know, he did not win Battle Riot, where he could have gotten a chance for a shot of the MLW World Heavyweight title. That one was won by none other than Alex Kane. So he decided to beat him up. However, Saint Laurent turned his back on Microman, but guys like Willie Mack and the main event showed up to give him a helping hand. So the obvious question is, what's next for Microman? Will he get payback on Saint Laurent for turning on him? We'll see what happens until then. Now, recently we have, as you know, Lince Dorado lost the MLW World Middleweight title to Akira. It was in a three-way match, but he was not pinned. He ended up having a sort of a rematch against Akira from the Calling. However, you know that this match was going to be a very brutal match, but there was a moment in this match where, of course, Akira was able to remove Lince Dorado's mask, and he tried to fight it even without, tried to put his mask back on, but it was just too much until Akira applied the death penalty, retaining the title. Now, it appears that the Second Gear crew were strategizing what they're going to do because they have a tag team title match and a hardcore rule match against uh, Samoan SWAT team. That's going to be interesting. So I don't know what kind of strategy they come, but they're like, Mance Warner seems like he's trying to make things a little simple to explain his strategy, but we'll see. Now, Billy Starks makes her way to the ring. She takes on the newest member of the Ravens Calling, um, Mandy Leon. This match was pretty good. I mean, it did impress everybody about Billy Starks, what she can do in ring. But, however, once again, the freaking Calling got involved to ensure that this match falls in favor of Mandy Leon until she applied the DDT, and that was it. Now our main event is the MLW World Tag Team titles in a hardcore match between the Second Gear crew, one called Manders and Mance Warner, taking on Samoan SWAT team, Juicy Finau and Lance Anoa'i. I thought this was a very brutal match. I was surprised how this one was going to go. Now, I kind of figured there was no way that the Samoan SWAT team are going to drop these titles sooner or later, but they were able, Juicy was able to do a diving body splash onto Mance Warner right through the table while Mance was getting a ride from him all the way down. 1, 2, 3. They retained the titles, but however, during the post-match, the Ravens Calling showed up and attacked the Samoan SWAT team and the Second Gear crew. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what's the purpose. I wouldn't be surprised if the Calling were trying to ensure they get the MLW World Tag Team titles. I wouldn't be surprised if they attempt to get all the titles. That is something that could be a possibility. And I think that's pretty much it with MLW. So let's move on to our final review, AEW Dynamite. Okay, our final review, AEW Dynamite. Now, it started out with the blind elimination tag team tournament, but before we started, two of the competitors involved in it in the opposite end meets up in an interview with Renee Paquette. Now it was Keith Lee and Darby Allin. Now Darby Allin, it reminded him that he was a champion himself. He was a former AEW tag team champion with the partner that he's been paired up, which is Swerve Strickland. But he told him certain things that would have upset him, but you know, he told him to get his head out of the ass or whatever. And then, of course, Keith Lee was like, ballsy, stupid, but ballsy. So he knew exactly what's going because Keith Lee once again will team up with the one man that that turned on him, and that is Swerve Strickland. While Darby teams up with our current AEW International Champion, Orange Cassidy. I thought this match was great. However, the obvious question does tell: can Keith Lee and Strickland get on the same page? That is a good question. But the moment changed when, of course, what's his name? Strickland accidentally misfired by doing a spinning roundhouse kick onto Keith Lee, but it knocked him out of the entire ring until Darby Allin applied the Last Supper onto Swerve Strickland. This was a huge disappointing loss for Swerve, but in the process, how does Keith Lee reacts to this? Is he pissed? I don't know, but we'll find out. Now, as you know, it's been announced that in 7 days, Nick Wayne will be making his AEW debut. Now, those who don't know Nick Wayne is the son of Buddy Wayne, who is a wrestler in the Pacific Northwest. Nick Wayne has been given the title as the Prince of the Pacific Northwest. Darby Allin talked about how he trained with them and he remembered Nick as a child. Darby talked about when he heard about his passing, he made a pact to himself that he will look out after Nick Wayne and make sure he gets all the opportunities he deserves. And of course, coming to AEW was one of them. He gave a contract to him when he was 16 years old, but he already turned 18 and graduated from high school. So I'm sure many of us are very excited to see Nick Wayne make his debut. Now, our next interview is Jungle Boy. As you know, he had a lot explaining to do for what happened at Double or Nothing, so Tony Schiavone wanted answers, but unfortunately, Hook showed up and attacked him. But of course, Jungle Boy ran anything. But Jungle Boy was planning to challenge him for the FTW title. So we'll see how that plays out as well. Now, our next match, we have, of course, a trios match. We have the Blade teaming up with the Bollywood Boys, who are Canadian natives. They take on against Daddy Ass and the Acclaim, and of course, you probably can guess this match will fall in favor with the Acclaim until Max Caster applied the mic drop onto Gerv, giving them the win. However, in the post match, if you guys remember, QT Marshall, Johnny Nut TV attacked the Acclaim and all this and that, but Harley Cameron, who is a member of the QTV, claims that she is the best singer ever. Everybody, she's like a new rip-off version, in my opinion, as Jillian Hall, if you guys remember that. But yeah. Now, AEW acknowledged the win by Eddie Kingston after winning the New Japan Strong Openweight title. So that's great for them to do that because, as you know, Japan is a few hours ahead of ours of daytime, and that's great. However, what does Jon Moxley have to say? So he gave a little something about Eddie Kingston and this and that. As you know, now it appears that maybe their relationship could fall into a strain again, knowing that Eddie Kingston, he has this tendency to say, I don't like this person, I don't like you, that sort of thing. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, we do have a draw for the blind tournament. Matt Hardy got his partner, and this one's a very unusual one. So it's, of course, Jeff Jarrett. So it's like, oh, brother. So that's the thing. Now, Chris Jericho, as you know, he has suffered a lot of losses. I mean, recently he was tapped out by Sting, and he feels that he is time to reinvent himself and all that. However, out of nowhere, here comes the most hated person in Canada, a fellow Canadian himself, Don Callis. So it appears that he wants to rebuild a brand new family, and he blames Kenny Omega for the whole thing. And now he wants to recruit Chris Jericho. But, of course, Jericho said maybe. He did told later on to Sammy and to Daniel Garcia that, he didn't say no or yes. But he did say that he's not going to be around forever, so someone has to step up. And I think that's something that they have to take consideration. So we don't know when he'll give his answer to Don Callis, but we'll see about that. Now, we did see a medical update with Renee Paquette about Roderick Strong, what happened to him in Ring of Honor. Apparently, he is not medically cleared, but Adam Cole went to check up on him. However, Adam Cole has his hands full in the blind elimination tag tournament with MJF. So they face off against Menard and Butcher. You probably can guess this match was going to be a bit more interesting to see the dynamics, but in the end it was Adam Cole with the boom onto Menard. I think it was Menard. Yeah, put him away and gave him the win. However, MJF decided that he wanted to celebrate the birthday of Adam Cole, but we all know when it comes to birthdays in real life, we get kicked in the face. And you don't think Adam Cole would have saw that? He did. So he made a fool of himself on that one. Now, our next match is for the Owen Hart Foundation tournament quarterfinals in the women's division. This is a rematch from last year's finals, Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho. If you guys remember, it was Britt Baker who won the first annual women's tournament for the Owen Hart Foundation, and that says it all. I'm sure Ruby Soho would love to get revenge on this match, but of course she has her own backup in hand, which is of course Toni Storm and Saraya. It would stop nothing to ensure that this match goes in their favor no matter what. But of course it did. There were some good moments that they got in the way, but it took a victory roll by um, Ruby Soho to pin Britt Baker with the help of course, the members of the Outcast to ensure they grab their hand. Ref did not see it, and it ends like that. Britt Baker's not happy with the results, how it is, but I wouldn't be surprised if Britt Baker causes Ruby Soho her next match. That's something I'm sure that could happen. Now, our main event features Wheeler Yuta versus Kenny Omega. Now, Wheeler Yuta has bragged like a little brat, saying that he defeated Kenny Omega, but of course, Kenny would definitely get a revenge against Wheeler Yuta, and that's what happened. However, Kenny Omega took a lot of beating, and not to mention that sleazeball weasel Don Callis shows up to try to cost him the match. Even Takeshita get involved, but the ref did not see it. It did not take any effect on Kenny until Kenny applied the one-winged angel, putting of course Takeshita away. But however, Wheeler Yuta away. However, Claudio shows up to beat them up and all that other stuff until Adam Cole was up. The rest of the Elite show up and they just fled. But out of nowhere, we saw, of course, Dark Order tried to stop Hangman Page, because this coming Friday, Dark Order and the Elite will will face each other soon. That is something we're definitely going to see. Pretty good show. I enjoyed it. I hope everybody enjoys this one. So I think it's time to do our last final thing, and that is news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. So this is what we have for all of you so far that I was able to pick up. As you know, Utami Hayashishita has announced that she'll be coming to the US for GCW. Now, GCW even made this announcement. So 3 matches have been announced throughout the month of July. This is before the start of the 5-star Grand Prix. Now, I did mention her first opponent will take place on the 8th of July for Clean Up Now. Her opponent will be Billy Starks. However, the other 2 opponents she'll be facing in the other 2 events, one is of course for JCW, she'll be facing against Janai Kai. I think that's going to be an interesting match. And then finally on the 14th for the Now and Forever show, Utami Hayashishita will be facing Lufisto. So that's going to be a lot of fun to take out. Now, for all you Canadians out there, if I have any Canadian subscribers, you may have heard the news that Maki Itoh will be making her appearance at Smash Wrestling, which is a promotion based out of Canada. Her opponent is none other than Jody Threat from Impact Wrestling, and it's going to take place on the 22nd of July. Now, interesting developments. AEW has announced that Diamante is now All Elite. Apparently, she signed a deal with them full-time last May. This is something I did not know. We know she had made appearances time and time again, and she was always impressive. She was part of the Zero tier, which, of course, they just book her whenever they need her to, but looks more like she is. Don't know when we'll see her more, or don't know when is the next time we'll see her. I'm sure we're going to see her in Ring of Honor, but we'll see about that. Now, speaking of AEW, Malakai Black and the rest of the House of Black are now currently in the AEW Collision. Malakai Black revealed that he requested this strictly to work at Collision. Now, I still don't know what's the significance, but I will find out more information when that happens. So we have seen this before. Now, Yoshi wrestler Tsukasa Fujimoto, as you all know, she's currently on indefinite leave due to maternity leave. As you know, not too long ago, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and it appears that she'll be making her return for a one-off show on the 30th of July. She even said something about this during Tokyo Sports, that it's my first time fighting in front of my child. Your mom will do best. Well, I say she will. I wouldn't be surprised if her daughter, um, learns how to be a wrestler, because we've seen that already. I mean, Hana Komuro is a second generation wrestler, like her mom. And of course, we have the Ibuki, a mother and daughter, Hoshi, and forgot her name. But yeah, so we can see that. Now, interesting developments. As you know, the Runaway Wrestler is currently filming their biopic on the story of Mayu Iwatani. Now, an interesting development that was revealed by none other than Momo Kohgo. Now, those who do remember this, Momo Kohgo auditioned for the role as Mayu Iwatani. Unfortunately, she did not get the role. It was given to Hana Hirai. But apparently, Momo Kohgo has a new role. It has a role in the film. She will portray Fuka. Now, those who don't know who Fuka is one of the founding members of Stardom, along with Rossy Ogawa. She's a pro wrestler and an MMA fighter. She was part of the JP Stars, all this and that. Fuka has also played a pivotal role in the training of Mayu Iwatani and all that. So I have to say Momo Kohgo has a pretty good role to say. I can't wait to see what it is, but we'll see how that plays out too. Uh, for all you, this was announced by Pure Power about Jazzy Wang. If you guys don't know who she is the daughter of Jimmy Wang from WWE, formerly from it. And as you know, this recently on July 15th, they will be making their Japanese Pro Wrestling Noah debut. There was something they talked about her recently. Let me pull that up. Okay, they're saying that Jazzy Jen is the daughter of former WWE wrestler Jimmy Wang. Will make her pro wrestling debut on July 15th. Same industry insiders believe that Yang has the look of a K-pop or J-pop idol, and that if she performs well in the ring, she will become an instant superstar. I mean, she does have all the tools, but they also state the fact that she is a pro wrestler. The fact is, pro wrestling in South Korea is practically dying out. Koreans have shown fondness of stars of Korean descent who have achieved greatness in the global market. It's possible that she will become an international star based on her performance. Along with her father, Jimmy Wang, Gail Kim, and Mia Yim, she is one of the few American pro wrestlers of Korean descent. Jimmy Wang will compete on the same event for the first match in Japan in 5 years. So I have been aware about this, that there was Korean promotions out there. Um, I don't know if how it's dying out. I'm not sure, because as you know, it takes time for people to get used to this type of thing where you guys are wrestler, if you're a pro wrestling fan, that sort of thing. But we'll see how that plays out as well. Now, the Yoshi Pod announced that, of course, that this Kitsune Women's Wrestling, this brand new promotion that will launch in October, they're still saying they'll be announcing more talent this coming Monday. As you know, recently two of the at-risk girls' talent were pulled off. This was beyond the control of the promotion, but anything's a possibility, so we'll see what happens. Now, GCW has announced the return of Effy's Big Gay Brunch 7 in Chicago. It will take place on the 2nd of September in Chicago. So I'm looking forward to it. No announcement who will be involved. I will keep that apprised to everybody. And then finally, this is a very interesting one, a bit of a rematch from Colors. The Colors Championship will be defended at Pure J, the Yoshi Promotion Pure J, on the 9th of July. And of course, Rina Mikuro will challenging for the title that she lost to Momotani. Momotani defeated her in this to win this title. So this is going to be interesting to see if you guys are fans of that. And I think that's pretty much it for now, what we have in our news updates. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode coming up. We have Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor, and I'm pretty sure there is a GCW event, Backyard Wrestling. I haven't got to it yet, but I'll be getting to that soon enough. I think that's what we're gonna do. I don't know exactly if there's any other events. Like I said, there's two other Stardom shows that I haven't seen yet. That the Let's Pride Before Sunshine. We'll see what happens till then. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah, and have a nice day.